Hi everyone, hope you're all hanging in there during this rough January. It's been bumpy, but nonetheless, I'm here again today to talk about a new animated film and hopefully to try to cheer you all up. My goal is to try to make people happy talking about animation, and that's my plan for today. So with that said, let's get going. But first, I want to briefly talk about the Oscar nominations. Yeah, those were some choices. Ugh. At the very least, the best animated feature noms were solid picks. Pretty great lineup if you ask me. I wouldn't call it one of the very best group of nominees ever in this category, but it's certainly high up on the list. And also, one thing that also made me happy was seeing The Wild Robot get nominated 3 times. I'm betting the people at DreamWorks felt very proud of that, and rightfully so, as they've come a long way after hitting that rough patch a while back ago. I said it before that 2013 to 2021 was pretty rough for DreamWorks. A lot happened for them during that period, from closures, cancellations, and a handful of pretty bad animated films. But despite those bumps, there were some good animated films that they did put out during that time, and there was one notable one that came out back in 2017.
Diapers are all about power.
No, not that one. The good one.
You are now the amazing Captain Underpants! Tra-la-la!
There we go, that's more like it. In 2017, DreamWorks released Captain Underpants, the first epic movie. The film adaptation of Dave Pilkey's very silly books about 2 boys with wild imaginations and reckless behavior named George and Harold, who end up accidentally putting a hypnosis spell on their mean principal, Mr. Krupp, and brainwash him into becoming their superhero creation, Captain Underpants. I was well aware of the books growing up as a kid, but I never actually read them. However, despite never reading them, I can say the film is really tons of fun. This is the right kind of silly animated film that I adore. It's ridiculous and goofy while being very smart and slick. It has some top tier animation that really captures the charm of Pilkey's illustrations, and it also has a great cast of characters whom are all perfectly played by their cast. Also, it gets more bonus points from me for being influenced by the films of John Hughes, who's one of my all-time favorite filmmakers. It also has a song by Weird Al Yankovic, and who doesn't love Weird Al? Overall, the film is tons of fun and a real good time. If you haven't seen it, it's worth a watch for some silliness. Although the film was a modest hit for DreamWorks, it wasn't really huge due to them putting more effort into pushing The Boss Baby, which, despite being quite bad, somehow managed to be a big hit and weaseled its way into an Oscar nomination, which... I know 2017 was not a great year for animated films, but still. How? You seriously thought this film was more Oscar-worthy than other better animated films that year? Are you freaking kidding me? I'm getting off track. But yeah, the film wasn't exactly a massive hit, and also because DreamWorks getting bought by Universal, the film never really got a sequel apart from a television series. And it's a shame, because I do think this should have been ripe for continuation, since it had so much creative ambition than the film based on a picture book that's literally just one joke. However, despite no sequel being made, I still see the film being talked about nowadays, which does make me happy, and I think people from DreamWorks have noticed its growing popularity as well. And that's what brings us to today's film. Around the time Captain Underpants the movie was coming out, Pilkey was wrapping up the series and starting to work on another new book series that was a spin-off to Captain Underpants called Dogman. And if you want to know what it's about, picture it like this. What if in RoboCop, after Alex Murphy was shot up, was not given cyborg modifications to make him more robotic, but rather instead got the head of a very smart dog stitched on? That's basically this. And much like Captain Underpants, it's delightfully silly but without talking down to children. And it naturally only made sense that it would get a film. And that's what we got today from DreamWorks. Dogman, their latest new film. And I've been really looking forward to this one. I already stated how much I liked Captain Underpants, so naturally to see them take another stab at Dave Pilkey had me quite curious, and this really did look quite fun given that it had all the silliness to be expected for a film adaptation of Dogman. And now having seen it, I can say, much like Captain Underpants, DreamWorks is just made to adapt Dave Pilkey's work, cause this is just as good as that. Dogman is tons of fun. The film is really ridiculous, over the top, and hilarious, but it's also a film that is really smart and also has a lot of great heart to it, which really helps make this film such a fun time from beginning to end. I had a really good time with this film. In the city of OK City, a cop named Officer Knight and his dog Greg, played by Peter Hastings, are on the track of an evil orange cat named Petey, played by Pete Davidson. One day, Petey manages to hoodwink the duo with a bomb, which ends up exploding, resulting in both ending up in the hospital. With Knight's head damaged beyond repair and Greg's body also unfixable, the doctors decide to put the two together as a hybrid, creating Dogman. At first, the experiment is seemingly successful, with Dogman continuing to catch Petey after his numerous evil plans and escapes from jail. But eventually, the mayor forces the ill-tempered police chief, played by Lil Rel Howery, to lay off Dogman after numerous escape attempts made by Petey. Meanwhile, Petey himself tries a new evil scheme by trying to make a clone of himself, only to make a small kitten named Little Petey, played by Lucas Hopkins, which he is quickly unhappy with. And that's really all I'm going to say about this, because it kind of leans into spoiler territory, and I'm not going to say what happens next. I'll have to give the film's trailers credit. They really did a good job at keeping the secrets of this film. Because, yeah, if there's one thing that I was impressed by with this, it's how well directed the story is. The film was written and directed by Peter Hastings, who mainly worked in television before this. He's written episodes of Animaniacs, and also worked on the Captain Underpants show, which is the reason why Pilkey handpicked him to direct this film. And I can say Pilkey picked a great choice. I'm honestly surprised this is only his first animated film, because he clearly knows what he's doing. This is a film that knows it's silly, and it just rolls with it, and I really love that. The energy is really top-notch here, and it's also perfectly controlled without getting to be too much to handle. There's a film critic on YouTube that I really admire who once said that there is a difference between a film that's silly versus a film that's dumb. And I think it's a great point. If you're making a comedy that's outwardly ridiculous, you gotta be smart with it and know what you're doing. I mean, this is a big reason why Hit Pig failed. That film was so over the top and out of control that it came across as a chaotic mess due to how it felt like it was going on a sugar rush. And some of the stuff in that film was so stupid that it just came across as dumb. Like, the idea of a polecat who farts nuclear explosions is not funny. Luckily, that's not the case here. The film knows what it's doing because everything feels controlled and properly thought out. It's really silly, but it's the smart kind of silly. Hastings perfectly understands how to translate Pilkey's work to the screen without talking down to the audience or making it feel like it's way too much. The energy just simply works. It's also really funny as well. The jokes in the film are really hilarious, with one of the best jokes coming at the beginning of the film involving a fight between the mayor and the chief, and it eventually builds to a great payoff.
That's not fair. Here, call this number.
Life's not fair.
What?
Life's not fair.
But it's not just the silliness of the film that holds this together. What really makes this film work is the film's heart. This is a film that really feels genuine and sweet. The film had a great message about what it means to see the world and that people can change their ways and be kind, and I think it's really well earned. A lot of that mainly comes down to the way the characters bond with little Petey, which I'll talk about more when it comes to the characters, but that's really the glue that holds this film together and makes it a fun time. I also think the film's climax is the right amount of over-the-top and silly, which all leads to the film having a very solid ending. Another big plus for this film is the animation, which really is great. The film has its animation provided by Jellyfish Pictures, and they really did a great job capturing the look of Pilkey's world while giving it a stylized look. The film leans into the look of a graphic novel being drawn by children, and I also really like that the film plays around with its frame rate with how the characters are animated. Pilkey admitted that he initially wanted Dogman to be animated in stop motion, and you can see how that translated into the final film. It does have a sort of a hand-touch quality to it that really makes it stand out. Plus, I also love the way it breaks the fourth wall. One notable touch Hastings gives the film is having a lot of the words the characters say being emphasized on screen, and sometimes the characters interact with these words, and I really like that touch. It shows that the film isn't taking itself too seriously and is just having fun, and I like a film that wants to do that. Also, the film does have a great pastel color palette to it that I enjoyed as well. Though the biggest pull of the film is easily the characters, who are very enjoyable to watch. Let's talk about Dogman first. One thing that I really like that Hastings translated from the books is not having him talk, and I really have to respect an animated film whose main character is silent and mostly just howls and barks. But despite this, the film really gives him a lot of personality with the way he acts and also the good heart he has. One of the best scenes in the film is one where he bonds with little Petey, and the scene mostly plays out through the visuals alone, and it's great. I love it when a film just allows the visuals to take center stage and just show, while trusting the audience to see what's going on. Again, it really goes to show how stellar Hastings' direction is. I will say that one thing I do wish could have been improved with his character is the way he and his arc is set up. The film's opening is a bit rushed, as the accident, the way he becomes Dogman, and also setting up his character arc felt rushed. If the film took a bit more time to properly pace it, I think certain moments could have hit a bit harder. But still, they do work as is. The other supporting characters are fun too. The Grumpy Chief gets a lot of laughs. There's also a sweet news reporter named Sarah Hadoff, played by Isla Fisher. She had some good moments too. Though if there was a character who makes this film, it's easily Petey. I really like Dogman as a character, but Petey is the one who steals the film. He is such a great character to watch, and he's the one that dominates the entire film as we see him trying to figure out ways to stop Dogman, which leads to the creation of little Petey, and the bond between him and the kitten really is funny and sweet. Plus, this is the kind of role that was made for Pete Davidson. I honestly think this might be one of his best performances ever. And I think his entire arc is also the one that hits the hardest. I won't go too much into it because it deals with spoilers, but I really did feel bad for this character, and I thought the way this character is expanded throughout the film felt natural and genuine. And I just love this kind of character who thinks they need to be evil and lash out, when in reality there's much more truth behind him that explains a lot. So, yeah, in the end, Dogman is a film that really is tons of fun, and another stellar film from DreamWorks. Even though its opening could have been a bit better, the film still works thanks to its silly story with tons of great heart, animation that's stylized and captures the look of Dave Pilkey's illustration, and also has a lot of great characters that are all fun to watch. If you liked Captain Underpants, you'll certainly like this film, and even if you haven't seen it or familiar with Pilkey's work, I still recommend this film for a good time. It's the right kind of silly and fun animated film for any family to see. So with that, I'm giving Dogman an 8. This is the kind of silly animated film that I just like to watch. I really hope DreamWorks continues to do more with Dave Pilkey's work because they just work so well adapting his books, and this film is another example on why they're the perfect pair. With good humor and lots of fun, as well as some great animation, this film is a super good time.
Why do you always gotta lick the inside of my mouth?